On the 22nd of November 1881, Adolf Barjansky wrote from Odessa, "Dear Sir and Master, prevented by several important family reasons from leaving for Vienna and forced to remain here over the winter, I will be able to come to Vienna only in February of next year and will remain there as long as it will be necessary to complete my musical studies. During my stay in Vienna, I have given you the reasons that have kept me away from my musical career for so long, with complete sincerity. The first steps towards resuming my studies caused me great difficulties and efforts. However, I am glad to have succeeded after all, and my journey next February is assured. You can then confidently count on great diligence and unceasing work of your pupil. I hope that you will acknowledge the difficulty of my situation and excuse me for the delay in my studies through no fault of my own. I take the liberty of sending you a few samples of my works. First, a sonata for violin and piano. Second, a quartet of which I have not yet finished the finale, and would be happy to receive your judgment on it as well as an answer from you in general. In expressing my heartfelt thanks to you in advance, I sign as your devoted and grateful pupil Adolf Barjansky. My address, Adolf Barjansky, Odessa. In the Vienna Library, the scientific library of the capital, I recently came across a small treasure during my research on the biography of Adolf Barjansky. 3 handwritten letters which Barjansky sent from Odessa to Vienna in 1881. What do we discover from these letters? First of all, that Adolf Barjansky had an excellent command of the German language, both written and spoken, for the letters are written in Old German script, the so-called Kurrentschrift, which he was proficient in, as we see. Secondly, we learn how passionate Barjansky was about studying and composing. Being 30 years old at the time, married and the father of a son, he wanted nothing more than to return to Vienna as soon as possible and continue his composition studies. We also find out who his composition teacher in Vienna was, for it is to him that the 3 letters are addressed. Eduard Cranz, who was born in 1838 in Vienna and died in 1914 in the same place, was an Austrian composer, arranger and conductor. He gained special recognition as a collector of traditional Viennese songs and was finally president of the newly founded Austrian Composers Association. And last but not least, Barjansky's letters give us certainty that Barjansky was composing much earlier than his published works suggest. That is not only from 1887, when his Opus 1 appeared, but already before 1881, and that his published works do not include all his compositions. The second letter is about the Ring Theatre fire, which occurred in Vienna on the 8th of December 1881 and was one of the largest fire disasters of the 19th century in Austria-Hungary, in which at least 384 people died. Dear Sir and Master, the dreadful news of the terrible accident in Vienna caused by the fire in the amphitheatre has also filled many inhabitants of Odessa who have acquaintances, friends and relatives there with grief. I hasten to ask you, dear Master, whether you and your precious family were far from the scene of the unfortunate event and whether you are all in good health. From the newspapers I learned that on the day of the accident you attended a matinee in the same house. I conclude from this that you were certainly not there that evening. But in any case, I would ask you to inform me of this. I would also like to know whether your esteemed friend Mr. Eduard Hanslick was not present at the time of the accident. Your devoted Adolf Barjansky. Odessa, 1st December 1881. By the 3rd letter we get to know that Barjansky had in the meantime received a reply from his teacher who had looked through and even played Barjansky's new compositions. On the 28th December 1881, Barjansky answered, Dear Sir and Master, Your kind reply to my letter and the friendly reception and examination of my work have given me great pleasure and increased my courage for further work. I need hardly add, for it goes without saying, to which you have thereby obliged me, that I have as good as appropriated what I have learned from you, indeed have made it my own in such a way that, as it seems to me, it would be impossible for me to write in any other forms than those which I have studied under your guidance. This can only make me happy. I can, without being immodest, audaciously praise myself for this quality of always adopting what I have once learned and acquired as if it had become part of my flesh and blood, and I see in it, to my comfort, a substitute for the interruptions which, through no fault of my own, all too often occur in my studies. But these interruptions are, thank God, already coming to an end. In a short time I will become a free man, and I will devote myself completely to my studies without tolerating even the slightest interruption. Your remark regarding the development of the themes of the first movement of my quartet has received my fullest attention, and I have taken full note of it. That you were so kind as to play my violin sonata with Mr. Hoffmann, to whom I express my warmest thanks, fills me with just pride and heartfelt gratitude. Since you have been so kind to me, I will take the liberty of sending you some of my works in the near future. I greet you, dear master, as well as your valuable family, with all due respect, Adolf Barjansky. Odessa, 28th, respectively 10th December 1881.